Hello, my name is Sarah Goldstein, and today I'm going to be telling you everything you need to know about my science fair project. The title of my project is Gluten vs. Gluten-Free, and it relates to the experiment part of my project, which was to eat gluten for a week, take notes on how I feel, then eat gluten-free for a week and do the same thing. I chose this project because both my mom and my brother have celiac disease, and I wanted to know if eating gluten affects people without celiac disease, or if eating gluten-free truly is healthier for people without celiac disease. My procedure was to first make a hypothesis, and then I did my research, and then I did my experiment. My experiment was to first buy items with gluten to last me a week, and then take notes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I did the same thing but without gluten, and after each meal, I used a scale of 1 to 5 to see how I felt bloated. Bloated for me is feeling a tightness in your stomach or that you can't fit anything else in your stomach. My results is my graph. My graph shows all the ways I felt after I ate food with gluten, then without for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I use a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not full and 5 being overly full. The lowest number I got on my scale was for breakfast with gluten-free, and the highest number I got was for dinner with gluten. How can my results be applied in the real world? They could be used by people who want to eat gluten-free even if they don't have celiac disease or a gluten allergy, or if they are just curious to see if eating gluten-free is truly healthier for someone who doesn't have celiac disease. They could also be curious to see if they do have celiac disease because they're feeling very bloated when they eat gluten, so they can see some of the symptoms from my background research and see if they have any of those symptoms. And they could get a test and see if they do have celiac disease. What was the most difficult part of my project and how did I problem solve? Well, at first I wanted to take my blood sugar, but gluten doesn't affect your blood sugar, only carbohydrates do. And then I couldn't find any good books for my project, so I had to really dig deep until I found a gluten-free baking book and a gluten-free cooking book by the same authors who both have celiac disease. And at the starting of their books, they wrote a little about celiac disease and everything about whole wheat. What areas of future research could be done to extend my project? I could get a large amount of people without celiac disease and have them eat 1 week with no gluten, 1 week with a lot of gluten, and 1 week with a little gluten to see if there is a limit for a person to feel well and still eat gluten. How did I use the scientific method in my project? I followed each of the steps one at a time, and I took it slow, and I found that it really helped me stay organized and on top of my due dates. Explain your Christian perspective and how it connects to your project. It connects to it by knowing that it doesn't matter if you have celiac disease or a gluten intolerance or allergy, because God still loves you the same way. But if you do have these diseases, you need to take care of your body, because if you are a believer, the Holy Spirit lives in you. A Bible verse from my Christian perspective that relates to my project is 1 Corinthians 6:19-20. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. Something that I am going to add to my project is I'm going to say some celiac disease symptoms, and you can check them off if you have them. And if you have around 5 or more, then I would recommend you go to a doctor and get checked out, because most people with celiac disease have had unexplained weight loss, tooth enamel loss, joint pain, weak bones, infertility, fatigue, a skin rash, depression or anxiety, or stomach and muscle cramps, chronic diarrhea or constipation. If for most of these you said yes, then you should check in for a doctor or get a blood test to see if you have celiac disease. If you do have celiac disease but you don't know it yet, or you keep eating gluten, it can cause malabsorption, which can prevent you from getting some really good nutrients in your body. And if you do eat gluten-free, it can be a little dangerous for pregnant women because they can get less vitamin B and vitamin B12 and B14. It is easier to find gluten-free things in these days, but it's also hard to avoid gluten at first because gluten is added where it's not needed for mass production. Some places where gluten is added where it's not needed is soy sauce, toothpaste, and even candy. Thank you for listening to my project, and I hope you have a good day.